Ontario land transfer tax is a provincial land transfer tax, and it applies to any home purchased anywhere in Ontario. And as a first-time home buyer, so this means a first-time home buyer never ever owned a home anywhere in the world, receives a $4,000 rebate at closing. There's also Toronto land transfer tax, and Toronto land transfer tax is applied to any property purchased anywhere in Toronto. And when you are purchasing a property in Toronto, you have to pay both taxes, Ontario land transfer tax and Toronto land transfer tax. And as a first-time home buyer, you receive both rebates, Ontario land transfer tax of $4,000 and Toronto land transfer tax of $4,475. And the rule applies as the same as Ontario land transfer tax. For first-time home buyers, in order for them to qualify, you cannot own a home anywhere in the world. Let's calculate to see what would be the Ontario land transfer tax if we were purchasing a home anywhere in Ontario except for Toronto, and also if you're purchasing a home in Toronto, what would be the two taxes that you'd be paying. Let's view it on our website. And here you're going to enter the purchase price of the property you're thinking of buying. So I'm a young professional buying a home in Toronto. I'm a first-time home buyer as well. And the condo that I'm thinking of buying is around $450,000. So let's enter the purchase price of $450,000. Now there's two buttons that you need to tick to answer two questions. Is this in Toronto? So if you're buying in Toronto, you would tick this. I'm buying the condo in Toronto, so I'm gonna leave this ticked. And am I a first-time home buyer? And yes, I am. So I'm going to click calculate, and it will show me right away that the Ontario land transfer tax is $5,475. And remember, it's based on the purchase price. The higher the price, the more tax you pay when it comes to Ontario land transfer tax and Toronto land transfer tax. The Toronto land transfer tax for the property that I'm thinking of buying, which is $450,000, is $5,475. And because I ticked that I'm a first-time home buyer, I get a rebate of Ontario land transfer tax and Toronto land transfer tax for a total of $8,475. So total in all, the Ontario land transfer tax and Toronto land transfer tax that I will be paying as a first-time home buyer is $2,475. Let's look at another calculation. Let's say you're purchasing a home around $600,000 and you are not buying in Toronto and you are not a first-time home buyer. Of course, you can play and tick whatever scenario applies to you. Once I untick buying in Toronto and I untick I'm a first-time home buyer because I am not, and I am not buying in Toronto, they will show me that the total land transfer tax that I will be paying will be $8,475. And as we can see here, for the Toronto land transfer tax, it says zero because we're buying a condo or a property outside of Toronto, so we only pay Ontario land transfer tax. And I am not a first-time home buyer, so there's no rebate for me. So the total Ontario land transfer tax that I will be paying is $8,475. Use this calculator in order to find out if you're ready to buy a home, because remember, in order for you to find out if you're ready to be a homeowner is to answer three questions. Can you afford down payment and closing costs? And this is part of the closing cost, land transfer tax. You pay this at closing. Can you afford carrying costs? Carrying costs is to find out if you're able to afford the home that you're thinking of buying month after month for the next 30 years, if you're owning the home for the next 30 years. And number three is it cheaper to rent or buy? Once you find all these three questions, then you'll be ready to be a homeowner. Use our calculators to help guide you through your buying journey, and of course, attend our first-time home buyer seminar for you to become a successful homeowner.